Hey everybody, I'm back. So today we're going to focus on another orc painting tutorial. Now, I did a tutorial earlier like in the past where I did for skin, but for this we're going to paint a full body with the skin and the armaments. For this is a beast snagga, and for this I'm going to paint it in this paint scheme of the Evil Sons. However, keep in mind you can also just paint your orcs the way you like it or your flesh anytime you like it. So, without further ado, let's get started. For the orc, we're going to start off with the most prominent features, the skin. So for this, we're going to use a contrast paint. We're going to use Gut Rip of Flesh. So this is one of the newer contrast paints, and don't worry, you can just get them at your local hobby store. Just make sure you shake up your contrast paints real good. Alright, with the paint shaken up, now let's get started. Let me just pull over my palette. Sorry about the mess, I have some skinks here. So, let's get started. So, we're going to take some Gut Rip of Flesh, and I'll put it right here so you can see it. Make sure you get a good amount. Oh, and I'm using a medium shade brush. So, for this, we're going to go all over the skin. So for beast snagga, for here, the neck, we'll start off with the neck first just so we can get that filled in. The head. And try to avoid the teeth, but don't worry if you hit the teeth, you can just fix that later. Oh, and I got some paint on the silver to details, but don't worry. A little bit more paint, just so we can get this. So for this, we're going to start on the torso. For this, there's a pec where there's the pectoral muscle right here underneath the strap. So when it goes from that, we're going to go all over the back. And now for the other part of the torso, this is one that goes underneath the belt as well. Oh, before I forget, there's a little bit of pec right here. So for right here, what we're going to do is this. Go all the way down. Don't worry, we're going to use the contrast paint, so pretty much cover the Gut Rip of Flesh. All over the side, the back, and the side right here. Now, with that, so now we're going to do the arms. So for this, we're going to start with the left arm. So we're going to start, go more paint. So, now we're on to the right arm. For this, just go over the shoulder again, the arm, the bicep, and there we go. So, for this, there's also some holes in the skin. No, I mean in the pants. And we're going to paint them with the skin color. Right here. And right here on the front. And that's it. Alright, now, with that done, now we're going to get started on the other details. We're going to let the skin dry. Don't worry, we'll return to the skin later. So, for this, I'm just going to dry off my brush and wash them. Just a second. Okay, so for this, I'm going to switch on to the belt, to the straps. So for this, I'm going to grab a medium layer brush because it's smaller. For this, we're going to take another good orca paint, snakebite leather. So let me just shake up your contrast paints again, because if you don't shake up your contrast paints, they'll dry very, very shiny, and you do not want that whatsoever. Oh, and also keep in mind, if you don't have Gut Rip of Flesh, you can also use orc flesh and then just highlight it after that. But for this, I'm just using Gut Rip of Flesh. Always make sure you shake your paints good. There's no such thing as over shaking them. So, with the contrast paint shaken up, let's get started. All right, so for the snakebite leather, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on many smaller details. So that's the straps, and also you can also put this on the pants. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the straps. So for right here, we're going to go with the strap on his back. And don't worry, just be as neat as you possibly can. Don't worry if you hit it over with hit it on the gut rip of flesh. Don't worry, you can just fix that later. Oh, and this is the silver part right here. So if you go over it, don't worry, you can just paint that up with the metallic later. So what we're going to do now is we're going to focus on the front. So there's a strap right here. Those are belt buckles, don't worry. So go over the straps. So there's a belt buckle right here. There we go. That's the straps almost done. So for the other parts of the strap, we're going to go with something else. So for this, we're also going to paint the strap that goes around his pants. And always just be as neat as you possibly can, but don't worry, you can just paint that up. You can just fix it later if you make a mistake. So also there's another part, you can't really see it, but look right here. There's a little belt right here, or strap. I'm going to paint that. Okay. Alright, that's the straps done. Alright, so now, sorry. And if you look right here, there's a little bit of white spots where I missed. Don't worry, just paint that over. Always make sure to thoroughly make sure you... Okay, there we go. That's the straps done. Alright, so now... Sorry, I thought I had to sneeze. So, we're going to start off with something a little simple. Now, let me just make sure if I have anything else. Yes, I do. Okay. So, what we're going to do with the pants is that we're going to paint them. So, for the pants, I'm going to do a different color. Let me just find it real quick. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. We're gonna mix a paint. We're gonna mix some paint. So for this, where's my snakebite leather? I just had it. Ah, here it is. Sorry about that. We're gonna take snakebite leather. The contrast paint I just used. We're going to take that. Okay. And now, just a second. Let me just make sure I wash off the brush real quick. And then we're going to use a different paint. For this, we're going to use the itsy bitsy amount of this. We're going to use Gryph-hound Orange. So, you may be wondering, why am I using Gryph-hound Orange? Well, it's because I don't have a lighter shade of brown contrast paint for the pants. So, and besides, I want to use the Gorgonta fur for the hide that's on his back. So, shake up your contrast paints. So, there we go. With the Gryph-hound Orange, just a little bit, not too much. And then you mix those two together. Let me just close up the paint real quick. Okay, just making sure my pants color is okay. So, for this, we're going to focus on the pants. Don't worry if you get it on the other parts, you can just fix it later. See, this mix is basically snakebite leather and Gryph-hound Orange. So if you notice, it's kind of orangey, but it's also just brown enough to be set as a brown for pants. And go for the underside of the pants. And don't worry if you get this on the boots, we're going to paint the boots with black. And try to avoid the holes in the pants. Okay, there we go. That's the pants base coated. And we're also going to use this on the pouch. The pouch is basically right here. So, and don't worry, you can just paint the pouch a different color, but I'm just going to do it with this color for right now. Okay, so there we go. That's the pants and the pouch done. All right, so now we're going to do the boots. Now for the boots, we're going to use a good old black base coat. So for this, since it's already coated in a primer for the base coat, so for this, we're going to use another contrast paint, Black Legion. So with that, let me just wash off my brush real quick. And there we go. So shake up your contrast paints. This is one of the newer contrast paints. So for this, we're going to do something different. So take some Black Legion. So we're going to take this, put it on our table here. This is just a spare table. Do not do this on your regular tables. So what we're going to do is going to paint the boots. So for right here, medium left shade brush. And then we're going to go over the boots. And try not to hit the armor panels that are in front of the boots, but don't worry if you do, you can just fix them later. And for the boots right here, what we're going to do is go right here where the boots are. All the way up to the pants. Don't worry if you get up to the pants, you can just use white. You can paint over them with white and then fix it later. Alright, there we go. And then for the other boot, just make sure everything is tidied up on the back side first. And then we're going to do right here. There we go. Okay, so let me just wash off my brush real quick. Oh, and by the way, that's the black. Oh, and if you want to do another place to do black, don't worry. I'm just going to show you how to do it for Evil Sons. So, for this, we're going to do with one of the other features. We're going to go with the hide on his back. So, keep in mind, this is also, the hide on his back is actually fur. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to do a straight highlight. So, what we're going to do is we're going to use another contrast paint. Gore Grunt of Fur. So, you may be wondering, why do I use a lot of contrast paints? Is because I just like a good foundation when you're painting them in batches. And orcs are somewhat of a horde army, so you have many batches of them, and you can just paint them like this. All right, with the Gore Grunt of Fur done, now we're gonna shake it after shaking up. So take some Gore Grunt of Fur, put it on the brush, and just put it on the table like so. Again, this is just don't do this on regular tables. So what we're going to do is paint the fur. So we're going to do like this. All right, there we go. That's the fur done. All right, and also I forgot to say I'm not going to paint these in Evil Sons. I just wanted to show you my scheme for them. So what we're going to do is we're going to start painting in the red armor on the Evil Sons. And I'm sorry for saying that. I'm going to paint these in Evil Sons. So let me just make sure all the panels are good. Yes, they are. Okay, so we're going to take a red paint because Evil Sons are known for their red. So we're going to use Flesh Terror's red. So we're going to shake up our paints again. Always shake up your paints. So, take some Flesh Tearers Red. So, we're going to paint the shoulder pad. Oh, and you may notice I got some green, some red on the skin, but don't worry, I'll show you how you can fix that. And also the knee pads. Don't worry if there's black on them; it'll cause a nice differentiation. All right, and that's the red applied to our Evil Sun's Beast snagga. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot one more detail. Let me just wash out the brush real quick. They're also known for the red, also on their weapons. You can for the weapon casings, but don't worry, this is how I just paint my weapon casings for orcs anyway. So, also on the choppa. Just so you know, this isn't a kill saw. It's actually a choppa with saw blades. Okay, now that's the red done. Sorry about that. So, let's get started. So, that's almost, we're almost done. So, we're going to blacken the last of the contrast paints, and then we'll move on to metallics. Actually, yeah, just one more contrast paint. So, we're going to take our snakebite leather again. So, it may sound strange, but because I forgot the detail, that was my fault. But again, I'll just fix it. So, took some snakebite leather. For this, we're going to paint the straps on the weapon, right here. Oh, and also we're also going to paint the little hide on his loincloth with this. And this isn't hide, it's also mostly just armor. Okay, there we go. With that done, we're going to start on the silver details. Now, for the silver, we're going to use a different, so we're going to use a silver before, let me get that, and then make sure I find out which one I have. Here it is. We're going to use Iron Hand Steel. So you may be wondering, why use Iron Hand Steel? Well, it's because my lead belcher is kind of clogged up right now. I didn't want to risk using it. So we're just going to take a brush. So for this, take right here. And this comes pretty thin down, so you don't really have to thin it down unless you want to. So for the metallics, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on a lot of details. So for this, the buckle right here on the straps. Buckle right here. So for the rest of the silver, this goes on the weapon like so, the gun barrel, and everything else. Just a second. Now you could paint the casing on the weapon red, but yeah, I'm just not gonna. And usually one layer gets a good base coat, but don't worry, you always need two sometimes. We're also going to paint the saws on the blades. And also on the other side of the blade right here. So, alright, so now we're going to fix some mistakes. So you may notice I may have made some mistakes. Oh, sorry. Yes. So we're going to fix them right and left before we finish on the last metallic. So for this, I'm going to take a paint, orkz white. Sorry about that. So take some white and just put on the palette. I'm going to thin it down a little bit. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to fix some of the mistakes that we made. So for right here, where the skin met the red right here. Okay, so we're done almost. So we're gonna finish the gun casing, and then we're gonna start on with shades. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna paint the casing, the casing of the bullets with Rune Lord brass. So. So what we're going to do is we're going to start adding the washes. So, oh, sorry about that. My foot fell asleep and it's rather unpleasant. So we're going to go back to gut rip of flesh first. So you may be wondering why we're going back to gut rip of flesh. It's just to fix up those white areas. So what we're going to do right here. Top of the head where I made mistakes. And a lot like Bob Ross says, we don't make mistakes. We just have happy accidents as long as they're fixable. All right, so while we're waiting for the metallics to dry, we're going to focus on adding the washes. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to add a wash to the skin. For the skin, we're going to use a classic shade of Bealtan Green. This is the old Bealtan Green, so if you have the new one, don't worry, it works just fine. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to go with a shade brush, medium. So what we're going to do, take some Bealtan Green and put it on the palette. What we're going to do here is going to shade all over the skin. So that way, instead of a very too bright of a green, we have a nice darkish green that the orkz are known for. And as you notice, it's actually highlighting the skin and also giving that nice sort of greenish hue to it. Oh, sorry about that. Didn't mean to move the kit. Didn't mean to move it out of camera. A little more Bealtan Green. So And also the arm. And yes, the other side of the arm, the pectoral muscles. And right here, the back, right here, and also the other part. And then just make sure you also get the hands. Okay, now that's our orc skin done. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off with a little bit of highlighting. For this, you can leave the pelt like this, and it would be battle ready. But for this, we're gonna do one last highlight to it. For this, we're gonna take what is it? Is it Deathclaw Brown? Ah, yes. For this, we're going to take a base paint. Let me just make sure I find where it is real quick. Ah, here it is. We're going to use a paint. We're going to use rat skin flesh. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start dry brushing. For those of you who don't know, dry brushing is a very simple technique. So, I will show you how to do that. For many of you that know what dry brushing is, don't worry. I'm just doing it for the newer folks. If I can find the brush, sorry about that. Oh, here it is. Sorry about that. So, what we're going to do is something called dry brushing. So for this, take a paper towel. We're going to take some rat skin flesh. Put some on our brush, not too much. And this is a makeup brush, by the way, because I just like them. So, we're going to take our paintbrush and just wipe off most of the paint until all the paint is barely touching. All right, so there we go. So, what we're going to do is to start dry brushing against the hide. So like this, like so. So you may be wondering, I could have used brown, and yes, I could have, but rat skin flesh is the perfect way to highlight this. Oh, and also we're going to highlight throughout the pants. So for like this. Alright, so I'm going to wash off my brush. So that's a highlight with the rat skin flesh. Alright, there's no need to highlight the red. You can just leave how the red is, but I'm not going to highlight for this video because, you know. So, let me just wash off my brush one last time. I'm going to leave it in there. Let me just look. Oh, well, now we're going to move on to a wash. For this, we're going to use Nolan oil for all the metallics. Okay, sorry about that. I'm just making sure this is the last wash. Yes, it is. So, you could, of course, use the highlight the skin with orc flesh, and it would be good, but I just prefer just to leave it like this. So, for this, we're going to start washing the metal. For this, the belt buckles, and don't worry, you can just also put this on the other parts of the details if you want. Metallic, metallic. So, what we're going to do, right here. I'm just getting a bunch of wash because metallic is still somewhat wet. So, all over the Rune Lord brass. And the gun casing as well. Alright, so all we need to finish off last is the teeth. So, for the teeth, we're just going to do a simple color. So, Now we're going to move on to our last contrast paint, Skeleton Horde. So, now we're going to start off. And the reason why I'm not going to highlight the metal is because the metal's supposed to be dirty because they're orcs. All right, there we go. So, I'm sorry you couldn't really see earlier, but that's our orc beast snagga done. All right, so that's my way of doing the Evil Sun's paint scheme for beast snaggas, but don't worry, you just do your own paint scheme and paint them however you want. I really hope you enjoyed painting this tutorial. Bye-bye.